It's being brought to you as a service of Stearns Poultry Farm Stores. When people in this area think chicken, they think Stearns. Stearns Poultry Farm Stores with 2 locations, Seneca Street, Hornell, and Route 244 in Alfred Station. The best chicken in these parts. It's going to turn into a partly sunny day across the southern tier. Temperatures will be up to about 40 to 45 this afternoon. Some light rain likely to arrive across the area overnight. There could be a few slick spots. Temperatures will fall back to 30 to 35. Occasional light rain in the forecast for tomorrow. We're going to be about 40 to 45. Light rain and wet snow, changing to snow tomorrow night. Lows near 25. And the outlook for Wednesday, we're going to be mostly cloudy with a high very close to 30. I'm meteorologist Rob Carolyn.
Next on AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show. Here's Brian O'Neill.
And we have on our live line with us this morning Republican Assemblywoman Marjorie Byrnes. Assemblywoman, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you very much. I'll start out by letting you and your listeners know that if you hear any road noise, it's just because I'm along the edge of the thruway, and a few trucks are passing by. So if they hear any noise, it's because we're on our way to Albany to do the people's business.
Well, that's great. And the Assemblywoman was kind of come on at the last minute this morning. We had a guest who had to reschedule another guest. Assemblywoman Marjorie Byrnes, there's a bail reform rally tomorrow in Albany. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. Over in the Capitol building, towards late morning, tomorrow morning, there's going to be a huge rally. We expect all of the Republican members of the Assembly, many from the Senate, as well as law enforcement, victims of this horrible bail reform law from all over the state to be coming down. The last I heard, and I haven't confirmed it because I've been on the road this morning, but I believe our sheriff is coming down. And the last I heard, and again, don't totally hold me to it because I haven't confirmed it, but the last I heard, I believe Mayor Buckley was also.
And, just over the weekend on that story, there was a story from WETM that we're reporting on as well, attributing it to WETM. They're the ones that broke it, that there was a scuffle over in Elmira between an alleged meth addict from Pennsylvania, a 39-year-old male suspect, and several police officers. The alleged meth addict is supposed to have put a chokehold on one of the officers and almost suffocated him. And then there was a lot of punching of another officer by this 39-year-old suspect, according to Elmira Police and WETM. State Senator Tom O'Mara posted the story on his Twitter page this morning, and he listed off all the accusations against the suspect and said, what are the odds now with New York State's new bail reform that the suspect will actually appear in court?
Yeah. That's horrible. If obviously everybody's presumed innocent, but if those facts are true, it's just so egregious on how this quote-unquote bail reform law is playing out. It's not doing what it was allegedly designed to do, to keep people with low-level offenses from being incarcerated while they await disposition of their charges. It's being allowed to let violent people who commit violent crimes back on our streets without even having a judge look at their case and make a decision using their discretion and judgment. It's horrible.
Talking live with Assemblywoman Marjorie Byrnes this morning. Reading on the Spectrum News page, it says, progressive advocates want more from Albany in 2020. And it goes on talking about the different things that were passed in 2019, but it says they want to go further in 2020. Do you have a sense, Assemblywoman Marjorie Byrnes, of what's coming up legislatively in 2020, besides the fact that we know that Governor Andrew Cuomo wants to legalize marijuana? Anything else?
Well, other than the legalization of marijuana, I believe they also want more more reform as far as the election laws to make it even easier to register to vote, which makes it easier for people who are even not qualified to vote to be able to register. So, there's going to be a whole myriad of different things that are popping up. But, I know people have talked about the marijuana one before, but that's particularly worrisome because a lot of people don't realize that this isn't going to be a situation where you can just grow your own, hang out in the backyard, and have a party. People's brains develop until they're 25. If you want to buy a gun, you're a good Second Amendment person who follows the laws in buying guns, you could get hung up getting a NICS check, where you have to indicate whether or not you've used marijuana because it's still illegal federally. And they're so much more powerful now, so it sounds like it's no big deal to just let's legalize marijuana, but it will also have a phenomenal impact negatively, I believe, on our entire society. So I really do think that is a big deal and a scary thing that might be coming up to us.
Another one I see in this Spectrum article, Assemblywoman, is a quote from the co-executive director of Make the Road New York. It says, quote, "Hundreds of our members are coming to Albany Tuesday to demand that the state act to fully remove ICE from the courts, ensure protections for all tenants, stop the school-to-prison pipeline, and make billionaires pay more." Let's go over some of these, starting with fully removing ICE, immigration and custom enforcement from the courts. How would they go about doing that?
Well, they would just, the thought process is they would not allow those officers of the law, sworn officers to uphold the law, from going into courthouses. And in some places in this country where these things have been adapted, judges and court personnel have snuck people out, defendants out the back door to avoid them going into the hands of legitimate law enforcement for the federal government. That would just be a horrible thing if it happened. And we got to fight that as much and as strongly as we can. We are a society that needs law and order, which is why also this criminal justice reform thing has been so bad. Without that, we have nothing left of our society.
Talking live this morning with Assemblywoman Marjorie Byrnes. What about making billionaires pay more? I've always suspected that that's just a talking point to appeal to those who don't have as much money as they'd like to. And it's a way of saying, the rich are stepping on you and the rich are stealing from you and that, they're stepping on your backs and all that kind of thing. But is that just a talking point that a lot of these progressives don't really mean and they're actually getting donations from the billionaires? Your thoughts there?
Well, what I don't think that they're paying attention to is it sounds great. Oh, let's go after the billionaires. They got plenty of money. Take from the rich, give to the poor. Those kind of talking points. But the reality is our state budget runs primarily on money that we get from income tax from all of our citizens, no matter what their socioeconomic situation is. And obviously then most of the income tax comes from those who, quite frankly, have more money. More money, more taxes get paid for income. If those individuals, those quote-unquote 1%ers, which are considered so evil by the progressives, if they leave our state, then they take all of the revenue that we need to run this state with them. So we're really cutting off our nose to spite our face when we make comments like that. The better this state does is the better that Wall Street does, and vice versa. So we need a strong business climate. We need strong Wall Street in order to fund the state. One really quick thing is the reason we need this is, just last year we were $6 billion over on our budget, and we were already $57 billion in debt anyway, like on a credit card where every year you pay installments. So now we're going to be over $60 billion, and this money, we have to be able to run a budget somehow. And in that respect, we need the tax money that we get in. We don't want to drive people away. We've already lost over 1 million people since 2011. This can't be the way it continues, or we don't have a state.
Assemblywoman Byrnes, the article continues talking. It talks about ensuring protections for all tenants. I'm guessing that's a little bit more of a New York City issue.
It is, except they've extended it to a lot of upstate. In the recent rent changes that have taken place last June, which are now going into effect, they're making it very difficult on legitimate, good landlords to be able to evict bad tenants. And if we continue to push this, I've had a number of landlords, we're not talking huge conglomerates. We're talking about people who have 1 or 2 houses, just a few units, and they're paying a big price. And if they can't legitimately evict people who aren't paying their rent, they can't afford to pay their own bills. And we're going to lose a lot of our good rental properties. So while it's, I don't understand all the nuances of New York City and their rental issues, I do know that extending them to our upstate communities is going to be very harmful, not only to our landlords, but to our tenants who want good places to live.
Talking with Assemblywoman Marjorie Byrnes on our live line this morning. The Assemblywoman was good enough to pull over on her way to the state capitol in Albany, where she recently took part in the state budget hearings. How did that go, Assemblywoman Byrnes?
Really good. I sat in for about 3 hours in a budget hearing that was involving Medicaid and potential changes that may need to come, and also other health-related issues like vaping and things of that nature, and restrictions on tobacco, vaping, flavors, where these types of things may be able to be exhibited in stores. Just so your good listeners know, right now you can go into a local convenience store and see vape or tobacco products behind the counter, not in front, but behind the counter. There's a push to have those first, no flavors, and also, though, to have them totally out of view, where if you did want to buy a pack of cigarettes, and I quit smoking over 20 years ago, but you went in to buy a pack of cigarettes, you would have to affirmatively ask the person at the counter to go get you a pack of cigarettes from behind in the back room before you could even purchase any. And, that's problematic. I mean, we are talking about adults, who make their own decisions as to what they want to do. But also, I was talking to a lady yesterday at our convenience store in Caledonia, and I told her about it, and she said the first thing that jumped into her mind was, oh, my God, the safety. She said, if we have to keep things in a back room and there's one person working and it's at night, what could happen when we have to go into a back room alone at night with only customers in the store? Who knows who they are? So, man, the first thing that jumped into her mind was safety and security, and being robbed. So there's a lot of, even with what sounds like good laws, potential unintended consequences. So we're going to have to look at a lot of this very carefully this year.
Assemblywoman, there's an article on the New York Daily News this morning, which links to Empire Report, NewYork.com, or I got the link from EmpireReport.com, I should say. And the headline is, Cuomo passes the bucks. The governor's cost shifting and blame shifting on Medicaid cannot stand. Now, I could read more from you, but I think the headline kind of captures it.
Sure. Yeah, and the Medicaid issue, the governor, through the budget hearing, because the person who was speaking predominantly when I was there was the commissioner of health, and one of the main things he was talking about was that he felt that the counties were the ones that were causing the Medicaid bills to go out of sight, except that everybody, even the Democrats, were questioning them and saying, wait a minute, the state and the feds set the rules. We're processing paperwork at the county level, but we don't control who's eligible, who's not eligible, what benefits they do or don't get. It's just irrational to put a burden on the counties to control growth of Medicaid benefits when these things are totally out of their hands. And I do see this as a way of trying to blame the counties and also put then the burden on the counties to pay additional costs down the line, when years ago the state agreed that it would pay for all increases in Medicaid because our counties, especially now with the 2% tax cap on what they can generate as their own operating income, have that burden already placed on them. So again, it would be a not only an unfunded mandate, but an over-the-top one, because Medicaid is one of the biggest expenses of our state.
And talking with Republican Assemblywoman Marjorie Byrnes. Going to take a quick break. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. We're going to take a quick break and then check the forecast. Stay with us.
Double L's Shooting Sports in Arkport, formerly Schulteis Sporting Goods, has an amazing selection of over 300 long guns and over 100 handguns in stock. They are also able to help with private party transfers, and they now carry a wide selection of Vortex scopes and a large selection of handgun and rifle ammunition. Stop in, and their knowledgeable and experienced staff will help you find whatever you need. Double L's Shooting Sports, open Monday through Thursday, 10 till 6, Fridays 10 till 5, Saturdays 10 to 4. Phone 607-295-7485. That's Double L's Shooting Sports in Arkport.
Alrighty, checking in now with meteorologist Rob Carolyn, who says it's going to be a pretty crazy week weather-wise.
It is, Brian. We'll see rain. We may see some sloat. What the heck is sloat? It's a combination of sleet, rain, and something else that I don't know about yet. But it does look like a messy week, Brian. We've got kind of a battle setting up between a strengthening Bermuda high off the coast of the southeastern United States and cold air up in Canada. That's going to kind of force the storm track right across the northeastern part of the country. Little pieces of energy will be coming through, and every time one goes by, we'll get some precipitation. This morning, we're starting out with some cloudiness, but it has cleared out across much of Pennsylvania to our south, and that will try to move in today. We'll turn partly sunny as the day goes on. We're 40 to 45. Brian, sun up this morning was at 7:21. The sun sets tonight at 5:27. Tonight, we'll have clouds. May see a few showers overnight with temperatures right around freezing. There could be some slick spots overnight. May have a couple of issues tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, cloudy with occasional light rain. The icy issues go away during the day as we get up to 40 to 45. Tomorrow night, we turn colder. Any light rain will change to sleet and then over to some light snow, 25 to 30. Mostly cloudy Wednesday, 30. Stronger storm heads our way for Thursday. It looks like snow develops, and it may mix with sleet or rain during the day on Thursday, Brian.
Thank you, Rob. Back with Assemblywoman Marjorie Byrnes. Assemblywoman Byrnes, you referred to the State Health Commissioner Mort Zucker. In the last segment, you said Zucker spoke about different issues at the budget hearings. Wondering, did the coronavirus issue come up during the budget hearings?
Just very briefly, all he indicated was that the state was on top of monitoring everything that was happening, and that he was very confident that the state and our health professionals all over our state were prepared should it actually arrive here, and he sounded very confident in our abilities and the abilities of the medical professionals should it come, to keep a good handle on it.
And Governor Andrew Cuomo issued a statement, I believe last night, saying that so far no one has turned out to have the coronavirus in New York City. But this morning they're reporting, and this is an update on the story, that the Center for Disease Control is testing 3 New York City patients now, so we'll see what happens there. We're talking with Assemblywoman Marjorie Byrnes. Assemblywoman, how are things? How is the political climate at the state capitol in Albany these days?
It's pretty much as divided as it has been. The Republicans, both in the Assembly and the Senate, are very, very united in trying to work towards getting more realistic budgets, more realistic expectations, and also our number one priority is to repeal this criminal justice act that went into effect. And so as far as the Republican base that's fighting for our good citizens, we're very united with each other. The problem is a lot of the downstate Democrats have a very different view. But more and more, as these egregious situations occur, like you described to me earlier, the incident a week ago in Bath and Hornell, as more of these incidents, as sad as they are happening, the Democrats are forced to deal with the reality of what they did. They own this. They control the entire state at every level. They absolutely own every bad thing that happens as a result of this law. But more and more, I think that there's a recognition that they went too far, and I would hope and expect that hopefully before we're done with the budget in March, that we'll start seeing realistic efforts made to, if not repeal it, then to pull it back. So in that respect, we're getting a little bit more bipartisan because there are Democrats who are realizing there was a mistake, they've gone too far. We just need to get Speaker Hasty on board with some of the more vehement downstate Democrats to understand this.
Down to about 60 seconds. Final question. How much is the Assembly Speaker Carl Heastie influenced by AOC and the squad?
I honestly am not sure. But a lot of the philosophies are very, very similar, which is what is scary. We're not just talking about the old days of Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal. We have gotten to a point where there is a group, and I see it when they speak on the Assembly floor, that is so far out there that it really is scary. And they don't allow for any debate. They are vehement that what they think is the only way and that everyone else needs to get out of their way. And there's actually, I'm told, about 12 Democrat Assembly members that are being primaried, obviously by members of their own party, because they're not progressive enough. So they're fighting among each other to go more and more to the progressive wing. And, you just sit there looking at it going, I hope some of the less progressive Democrats win, so that there's some level of sanity and conversation.
With that, we have to leave it. I want to thank you so much, Assemblywoman Marjorie Byrnes, for coming on this morning.
It's my pleasure, and I hope that we can do it again. Maybe in the near future. Like I said, I'm hoping that I'm going to be seeing the sheriff and Mayor Buckley tomorrow morning.
Thank you so much, Assemblywoman.